following the advancements of modern world, where rationalistic tendency of modern people is dominant and is projected to substitute religious ways of life of contemporary human being, which are in some ways seen as irrational, we see the contradictory tendency, because we see now religion would it is said that in very modern situation, religion would be steadily ousted from life of human being. This is what sociologists have predicted for at least last 3 decades. However, our world today show contradictory tendencies. Yeah? Rather than being more secular, what I mean by secular in the sense is that our world is becoming more irreligious, or that the role of religion in public is becoming less and less. In many parts of the globe, we have been witnessing the global resurgence of religion. This since 1990s, we already seen this phenomenon. So this phenomenon is particularly notable in political arena. So the involvement of religion in politics in our today's world is undeniable. Another example is globalization. While globalization has brought effect of cultures unification, in the sense that people are easily unified in cultures, global cultures, thanks to the advancement of technology. At the same time, we also see the rising tendency of sectarianism. So what this seminar call as ethno-nationalism movement, so I will not talk about this in exact term, but I would portray what I call the contested ideology, the rise of religious sectarianism in a democratic Indonesia. My interest to this topic is because we actually see a contradictory tendency. While democracy has been on the rise in Indonesia, of course we can hear also, we can get in many ways a debate regarding is democracy in Indonesia is substantial or otherwise, but we generally accept that Indonesia is democratic, but in the midst of democracy has been practiced in Indonesia, we also see the rising tendency of religious conservatism and also Islamic populism. So to me, it's like two contradictory phenomena. On the one hand, we see democracy is on the rise, but at the same time, those who are rejecting democracy is also on the rise. My thesis is those who reject democracy, they actually are not aware that they can have such freedom because of democracy. So they don't know. Yeah? If Indonesia is not democratic as now, I'm not sure that they will have such freedom as they are enjoying today. But the paradox is they reject democracy, which actually has given them such freedom. I would like to bring you to the topic of or point of how does democracy in Indonesia affect religious discourse and religious freedom, or how religious conservatism or religious sectarianism are on the rise within the situation. 1998 in Indonesia, we experienced a very revolutionary political change. Everything changed, so we call it post-new order period. So what actually we can see in the post-new order shift, at least there are 4 important phenomena to be noted. For example, the first one is the establishment of political parties adopting Islam as a sole basis, replacing Pancasila. So in Indonesian context, we have national philosophy called Pancasila, which actually, if we refer to historical reference or event, it is easily to understand that Pancasila is like a national consensus of many diverse religious group in Indonesia. But then those new coming ideologies in Indonesia tend to reject Pancasila. So the first is the establishment of political parties adopting Islam as a sole basis that projected to replace Pancasila. The second is growing demand of Sharia formalization. This is particularly popular in the first decade after era reformasi or after 1998 reform in Indonesian politics. We see everywhere, any region they require or they want to be more Sharia or they want to implement Sharia as the formal law in their respective regions, and but now the situation still in Sharia is what I often describe this situation as the growing tendency of anything Sharia but actually minus Sharia. This is, I don't know whether this term is right or not, but the growing everything called Sharia but actually minus Sharia. Because what Sharia they actually understand for business purposes are actually only a label without any understanding, thorough understanding of what is Sharia actually in terms of value. So they use Sharia and only for marketing purposes. And I think it is not too difficult to get such kind of example in our respective world, in Indonesia and Malaysia. So to me, the growing Sharia tendency in business or in any economic matters is actually minus Sharia. Or maybe this is very extreme statement, but this is what I have been witnessing up to now. And then the third is the emergence of Hardliner Muslim group. This is also very important. Ibu Mira has talked a lot about the Hardliner or the radicalization. So this is also part of phenomenon that we are witnessing. People are to be more. They feel that to be a good Muslim has to be radical. So being radical equals piety. So once I ask a crowd or a floor in a forum, and I ask them that to be a good Muslim, is it do we have to be hardliner? Do we have to be radical? And I said that to some extent I am progressive. I would say progressive, might be liberal to some extent, but to another extent I could be also conservative. So but my point is that we have to be very contextual when have to be radical and we have to be contextual or progressive. But then what they understood is that anything that they deem as different from them is they cannot accept this. And the last is the voice, the rising popularity of Islamic press. Islamic press. Before internet is as popular as today, we see in Indonesia, we saw the popularity of magazines such as Sabili and the similar and the like. But now a research by UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta show us that those who are conservative, those who have conservative ideology dominate Islamic discourse on the web at the point about 65% or something, and those progressive are less aggressive or those who are called progressive are less progressive in dominating the Islamic discourse on the web. So this is also very important. So in terms of religion, the rise of conservatism or the rise of sectarianism, what we can see, I identified three. The first one is the rise of conservatism and Islamic populism, debate on governmental model, and the last one is state-religion relation. I would say that these three phenomena actually under the umbrella of ethno-nationalism movement because within these three phenomena we can see the element of ethno-nationalism but sectarianism. Yeah? So the rise of conservatism and Islamic populism is clear. What I mean by ethno is not merely ethnic. When we follow the last DKI Jakarta governmental election, to me, is a clear indication that Islamic populism is on the rise. And also, debate on governmental model. Indonesia has been unitary state for so long, at least for 6 decades, and then coming new ideologies such as Hizbut Tahrir, who protest on the establishment of Pancasila, and they also propose that the only solution for solving any Indonesian problem now is Sharia. Again, which kind of Sharia they are offering? Because if we talk about Sharia, state, if we do like state by state investigation, we will see what the meaning of Sharia is different from one, let's say, Islamic countries to another. And then also they offer caliphate, which also I critically view this ideology by asking which prototype of caliphate Hizbut Tahrir actually offering. Because to me, there are so many prototypes of caliphate in the Muslim world. The only rightly guided caliphate is for rightly guided caliph after the Prophet Muhammad. And this is really caliphate. Meritocracy was practiced in the four rightly guided caliphate. But the caliphate after, I would say, they are not caliphate actually, but they are dynasty. So if Tahrir, for example, offer Khilafatism as an alternative for solving Indonesian problem, they have so many problems in identifying which kind of and they cannot point clearly which type or which prototype of caliphate they are referring to. But lately I am becoming more convinced that actually they are promoting Ottoman model of caliphate. Why? So many I have some evidence. And then state religion relation. We can see now everything coming from state are deemed as expression of hate to Islam. The Islam is discriminated in this way, in that way. Where does this voice come from? To me, it coming from the non-mainstream. Mainstream Islamic group like Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, they can play ideal relation with state when they have to be critical, when they have to be cooperative, and they have to be supportive. They know exactly how to play this role. But other group, which I would say they are part of Islamic populism, they only know one thing, that state or government are always wrong. So for me, again, we are witnessing a very contradictory or paradox situation. While democracy is on the rise, or democracy is being practiced as an experiment in Indonesia, and we enjoy the coming of democracy in Indonesia in many ways. At the same time, democracy has also have paved the way for the rise of religious sectarianism.